Connecting. All right, I think we're live. Can everybody hear each other? Hello. Happy Thursday, guys. Adam, where are you? Out in the wilderness somewhere?
Yeah, so I'm up in the Adirondacks. It's a great thing that Lake Ave does. They every year, the kids, the fifth graders, can have the option to go on a trip to it's a Camp Wikipanka. That's not the name. I can't say it, but it's an old Boy Scout, or it's a Boy Scout camp. And it's really something special Lake Ave does, where the fifth graders can kind of spend that final year together. This is the 19th year, would be the 20th year if not for COVID last year, canceled it. But it's really a great thing the school does, and I'm really happy to be a proud of it. I'm chaperoning, so it's camping in the woods with a bunch of fifth graders for 3 days.
Hey, have you seen a little guy named Charlie Dalton bopping around anywhere there?
I have seen Charlie Dalton. He is under my care. He's doing awesome. The boys are awesome. They're having a great time, and it's just a really neat experience.
You don't look stressed one bit.
What, me worry? No.
Well, guys, welcome to Talking Saratoga. We are back with our weekly podcast to talk about the latest news, debate, discussion in Saratoga Springs, a city that we know has never suffered from a shortage of opinions. And there's lots of action this week, you guys. Starting with Gaffneys, which was in the news because they had their hearing with the SLA and kind of got their punishments, essentially, and what they have to do to reopen. And did you guys see any or read any of the hearing and like what they have to do?
Yes, Robin, you posted a lot on it. You posted the actual documents. That was great. And, the press, of course, did a solid job in reporting it, I guess I would say.
They did. So I actually, because I'm a dork, went online and tracked down the video of the SLA hearing that happened. And I was really kind of taken aback at how harsh the SLA was, although I guess for good reason. And I have some of the clips of them talking from the hearing I want to play in a minute. But essentially, Gaffneys needs to pay $70,000 in fines. They have to start wanding anyone coming in, like with a wander for like the metal detector thing after 9 o'clock. Last call is at 1:30 and they're shutting down at 2. They have to communicate with the police department if there's any type of altercation inside the property or outside the property. I think that was about, and no live music or DJs.
Background music only.
Background music only. So
Whatever
that
was,
I know, I guess it's like elevator music. That's all I can think of, right? So that was one of the most surprising things about watching this hearing. And I'll play the clip in a second. But it turns out Gaffneys has actually never been permitted to have live music or DJs, which was news to me. So do you want me to play this clip so you can hear? This is the chairperson of the SLA talking.
Yeah. I just wanted you to tee it up, and you just did.
Roll that footage.
Okay. Entered in. You had an understanding with us when you got this license, and it was a legal understanding, and it told you what you were allowed to do, and you haven't been doing it. Your license didn't give you the opportunity to use DJs, isn't that correct?
We were unaware that we've been operating like that for 6 years.
Well, you were aware of it, though, since you've been getting in trouble. And you continued to do it. Your license didn't allow you to have live music. I don't even think.
So that's just a little snippet. I was shocked that they did not have any permission for live music at that location. I mean,
listen, Gaffneys has had live music for decades, right? Decades since John Baker was running it. Certainly, it was the reason to go to Jagat. I mean, a great expansive backyard, but the live music was always excellent. Our friend Arthur, booked the bands there for many, many years, and so yeah, that's a shocker.
Well, Dan, I would say this: the license when the new owners took over would have all changed. So I don't think we know or it's relevant whether prior to the 6. I don't know how long the new owners had it. 6 years.
So I don't know how the music element changes with the permitting. I guess I'm getting
it changed. So for your liquor license, and I can speak to this because I've been in the business. First, it's an issue I have with the SLA. They're too powerful. A lot of the laws are held over from the very antiquated
like the
laws.
olden times.
The olden times, yeah, from Prohibition. that give the SLA kind of tremendous powers, and it gives. So, for instance, if you are a business owner and you are late paying your beer or liquor bill, they actually the beer or liquor distributors will report you to the SLA, and you have to be cash on demand from there on out to get any orders in, any deliveries. And the free market says, as a customer, you should have some negotiating power with when you pay your, what's the terms of your agreement with the distributor. So if you don't pay within 30 days, it's the state government coming in and acting as a collection arm of a private business. And being on the bar and restaurant side, I was never really a fan with that. In a lot of cases like Gaffneys, I think we see why there needs to be an SLA with some teeth. And I'm not saying they're not right in this act, but they do. Just something to keep in mind. The SLA has extraordinary powers. And when you go for your permit, you have to say, you have to kind of list everything you're doing. All the owners have to be background checked. If you remember one time when what's the bar across the street from Gaffney's open?
City Tavern?
The City Tavern on the rooftop there. They did not have a permit for a bar. They had a permit to serve up there. So they had a bar, and you would order from the bar, and then the bartender would hand it to a lady, and she would hand you the drinks. And it was just kind of a workaround of the city rule of they can serve drinks up there, but they can't have, the bartender can't hand the patrons a drink. And I think they've since figured that out. But just a little background on the SLA and the powers they do have in the state.
I will say, Adam, I'm sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was shocked at the, the questions they were asking of the Gaffneys owners were so wide ranging, from like financial questions to, it was obvious how much authority I guess the SLA has, and they were not in a good mood talking to these guys. And I can play another clip of the chairperson talking about how, sorry, go ahead, Dan.
Please do, because I want to comment.
Okay. All right. Let's say, here we go.
I've been doing this for 7 years, and I go to Saratoga regularly. And I don't think I've ever had a problem like you guys have caused in Saratoga over the last 2 years. I don't think I've ever seen it. And then you denied it was you, publicly.
So that's just, again, one little example. The chairperson of the SLA clearly has, a lot of familiarity with Saratoga, the way he talks about it, the way he talks about the different restaurants and bars and their involvement in Mrs. London's and other places. He definitely knows the area. But again, I'd also listened to 2 hours of other complaints from around the state until I found the Gaffneys one. But I was just kind of shocked at how almost like personal the commentary was from the chairperson. It's a pretty strong statement. Like, in 7 years, like, this is the worst, most problematic establishment they've ever seen.
Going back to John Baker, I have a connection to him. His late father was a state trooper. Him and I had the same rank, even though we didn't know each other. So John and I had a connection. John was always good to me. But for me, looking at the current setup of Gaffney's, and again, Dan DeFedericis, citizen, his opinion, the problems that Gaffney's has caused. I want to say bravo to this guy. It was harsh, but and Adam, to your point, I want a strong SLA. If they overstep, fine. Knowing this one bar, how it's dominated the news in the city for really a year now, bravo. In fact, we got to do a separate thing, the SLA Chronicles. We got to do another. How is this guy not on TV? How is that board not on TV? That's drama.
It was very dramatic. But I guess I'm like always in this conflict of, Adam, like you said, I don't like it when government interferes with private business. And they have put some significant restrictions on how these guys are going to be able to operate and have any measure of financial success this summer. Especially with like the huge property that's laid out for music and performance, to not have music available, to, have to go through all these security measures, one of which was everyone who gets ID'd, the ID is scanned, but then that person's information is stored for 6 months after that. So like which to me is like a little bit of an invasion of privacy. Like, I don't necessarily want people knowing what bars I've gone to and keeping that information for, I don't know, whatever purpose, like for 6 months. It just seems like a lot.
Right. Well, so I would say the live music was kind of self-inflicted, right? Because they knew, like the power of government or not, when you know the rules, you got to play by them. You can't change the rules by not following them.
But nobody follows the live music rules, do they? I mean, everybody's cranking in the summer.
Well, the permitting of it, though. So,
the permitting. Yes.
Yeah, the decimal levels, that's one thing, right? That's not really, seems to be not highly enforced. But as far as the permitting that Gaffneys needed, that was very self-inflicted. As far as the keeping people's information for 6 months, again, is that overstep by the SLA? I agree with you where it's a little bit like Big Brotherish, right? Tracking your movements if they know. Although that being said, we go into these places with our smartphones and and our apps. And,
I know. Yeah, but Apple tracking me is not as bad.
And cameras everywhere.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think of the punishment? I mean, do you think it's just? Do you think? Campbell.
I think Gaffney's brought, again, my opinion, reading it in the paper. I don't get to Caroline Street anymore. I got young kids and I'm too old. But to this point, I think Gaffney's brought this upon themselves. And I take issue with the press saying Gaffney's is closed, but the violence continues. No, drunks fighting in Caroline Street has been happening since 1852. But stabbings are a different level. There have been no violent, deadly physical force issues that I know of since Gaffney's was closed. Sure, drunks fighting, even large groups, I get that. It's not right, but that is a different level of law breaking than stabbings.
Well, let me play you one last clip from this hearing that speaks to that.
They intend to operate.
I haven't decided where I'm going at this point. I still haven't, but because I don't know that I'm comfortable with them operating, because people got hurt, and even after people got hurt, nobody did anything. At that point, if it was my place, the music would be not on the next weekend. There would be a wand on every person walking in the door if somebody got stabbed in my bar. You had to call the cops to break up fights because my security guards don't know enough to not put people that are in a brawl out in the street where it would just get worse together.
Understood. I mean,
but they kept doing it and doing it and doing it, and then people would say, "What are you doing?" And they're, "Oh, it's not us. Everybody else is having problems too."
So again, pretty harsh. But I live, as you guys know, on Lower Caroline. I'm on Caroline Street between Henry and Circular. So this is like, I'm constantly, walking past Gaffney's, seeing what's going on. At some point, do we ever hold people actually responsible for their actions as opposed to blaming the business? I just feel like we've gotten into this mindset where someone commits a crime, and instead of holding that person accountable, we immediately are trying to blame the business, and basically any other entity except for the person themselves. And so I kind of wish we could get back to a little bit more of a personal responsibility kind of climate,
Well, there was an assault suspect who was convicted and sentenced to 40 years for the October stabbing, I believe it was. That's significant. But I don't disagree with you, Robin, but that doesn't get Gaffneys off the hook. I don't know them. I don't know Gaffneys anymore. I just don't get down there. But as a citizen of the city, reading about this and seeing these things happen, I'm bothered. And I can't help but say, even if it's uninformed, I'm allowed to say bravo SLA. And that's where my head's at.
Well, I hate seeing an empty property anywhere in Saratoga, especially downtown. I think it's just a bad look for us all around. And I only want businesses to succeed, but also people need to be safe. So maybe this will be the balance that delivers that for Gaffneys, and they'll take a turn for the better.
Yeah, I hope so too. It's a great location. I had my 50th birthday party there. Oh, sorry, Adam. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's going to be interesting to see how they change their business model to meet these new requirements put on them by the SLA. Does the mood of the Gaffneys change? Does it calm down? I guess we'll find out.
I mean, I think if there's no dancing or music, that's going to be tricky for them. I think they're definitely going to have to change the business model there. Or what if people start dancing and you're like, no, you're not allowed to dance. You're going to have like a Footloose moment.
How long is that for, that moratorium on live music? Did they have to apply for it to get approved? I missed that.
Yeah, so they're going to have to apply to get it approved. It's there was no like end date that I heard for that.
And Robin, you did some great work here getting that video and editing it so we could show it to our viewers. Do we happen to know who? I assume it's the chair of the SLA board that was speaking there. Do
Yes,
we know who that is?
I don't recall. I could look it up. I don't know.
Okay,
his
no,
name off the top of my
sorry,
head.
but you did great work there. We should follow up on that. I'm interested to know who he is, and he says he hangs in Saratoga, or he goes to Saratoga sometimes, and I just be interested to do a little bit of follow up on that maybe next week's show.
I will say the SLA is like a wealth of information because I saw all the pending liquor license for bars that are going to be opening on Caroline Street, and I was like, "Ooh, what is this? What bar is opening here?" So unexpected source of kind of business news too. Weirdly,
Interesting.
I know. Who knew the SLA would be so entertaining? Anyway, I do wish the Gaffneys owners well. I don't like to see any business fail here, and it's in such a prominent spot. And I hope that this works out for everyone's benefit. But I think we're going into another crazy summer season. So I think that Gaffneys is actually probably the least of our worries at this point. It's been gnarly downtown already.
Strap on your seatbelts, folks, because now till like mid-September, it's going to be just a crazy town. Hopefully in a good way, but from everything, right? The traffic's ridiculous already, right? You just can't get anywhere in less than 15 minutes. It seems. I'm going across town. I could have biked there quicker in some cases, and it's only going to get worse. And I'm not complaining about that, but as I'm sitting at a red light, backed up 2 red lights, two cycles, I'm like, wow, this is only late May, early June. What's going on here?
We can't blame Gaffneys or the city council for that. that's
Jim Montanino's
transcended
fault.
time in Saratoga. So.
Just go spend one day driving on the LIE and you'll love the traffic situation here in comparison.
That is true. Everything's relative.
Everything is relative. So speaking of the track, another thing that Dan, you wrote about this week on Saratoga Report is this residential houses being built across from the track in a lot that was just sold kind of around George Street and where
behind the racing museum, or just between the racing museum and East Avenue, a couple of those small side streets there, right? Yes.
And so I actually think maybe you should set this up because I still don't get the controversy, but I feel like you could kind of tee it up better. What's being proposed and why there's been a little issue.
Yes, there was a proposal. There were a 2-part proposal, I'll call it. That's probably technically inaccurate, but it's for illustrative purposes, to put 7 homes on those streets, Union, as well as this,
Hold on. 2 homes are already on Union and they're being restored. So it's actually only 4 new houses.
Correction, 4 or 5 new homes on empty lots on Union and the streets of Union, essentially where King's Tavern is, just behind King's Tavern. And to build them, but also what makes this unique and therefore maybe attracts some of the controversy is this home will presumably be part of an HOA that these homes that have a separate lot with a cabana and a pool on it. And I'm sure this is going to be a high-end cabana and a high-end pool and very high-end houses with a lot of square footage. And that's fine. That part of it but I'm just trying to, again, paint the picture of what's going on there. I wrote about it in a short article. Wendy Liberatore from the Times-Union wrote a deeper article touching on the controversy with some quotes from the neighbors. And it is many of the neighbors were not happy with it because their view, and again, they will presumably comply with the current zoning and everything. So I don't know that they have a legitimate legal gripe, but they're publicly griping to the TU and so forth, as well as to the planning board earlier this year, as well as last year, that what's going to happen at this cabana? Will there be bands going until 11 at night? Will it be a source of music? And then will these be 7 empty houses by very wealthy folks that are only occupied 7 weeks out of the year and dark 45 weeks of the year? Again, there's not necessarily a legal argument against that, but to a neighbor, I understand that. So does that tee up the controversy, or what does that tee up why it's an issue, Robin?
Well, yes, because I think it's all so ridiculous, their objections. So yes, it does. Here, the controversy will emerge right now. So these are all approved residential lots. They've always been residential lots. So there's no change in zoning, no change in like special use ordinances or anything like that. So these are just 4 lots that are getting homes built on them that could have individual pools at every one of those homes, but instead they're having one communal pool. And like suddenly that's going to turn into like some like out of hand partying and noise and alcohol and like debauchery. I mean, a lot of people have pools here. I don't know them to be like a source of like noise complaints and like bad behavior. I
mean, that's my neighborhood. You know, I live a block away, or 2 blocks from King's Tavern. I have to say, I think King's Tavern is great for the neighborhood. It's on the east side, so we don't really have that many establishments. Brook Tavern, which is a fantastic restaurant, a favorite of my wife's and I, and King's really. But one thing, and this is a side note, we don't have there. There's no markets there. There's no gas stations on the east side, which you don't necessarily want a gas station on the corner. But it is if you have to go and pick up milk and eggs, you got to have to not quite cross Broadway, but it is a little bit of a trek. But what I would like to see is because this is kind of a new essentially business model for this neighborhood is the HOA agreement, right? What is the HOA going to say these homeowners can and can't do? Because that's really going to govern, what happens in these properties. So, I don't even know if this is something that you could request beforehand, but I'd like to see, what are the rules that the residents are going to have to abide by at this pool?
I don't think they have an HOA. I'm sorry, Adam. I don't think they have an HOA like pre-set up. I think it's people would have to buy the homes and then decide mutually that they want to create an HOA.
The proposals did mention an HOA would run the pool, because the only thing that's been asked for approval is the pool and cabana. The homes proposals were withdrawn, so they don't technically exist as of yet. Obviously, I can only assume they'll be resubmitted, but that was one of the complaints of the neighbors of you have an HOA and an HOA pool, but you don't have an HOA or homes to support the HOA. That sort of felt backwards. And I got that. I talked to some of the neighbors. It's a nice, quiet neighborhood, Adam, obviously, as you know. And I couldn't help. And one neighbor was complaining to me. And again, it's not a legal complaint, but it's a legitimate one. Like, he goes, I take my kids trick-or-treating on East Avenue, backing up to the track. I'm sorry, on Fifth Avenue. And there's nobody home. And it's like,
oh my God.
Listen, I hate to see dark homes in January and March and October, for that matter, and only occupied 7-8 weeks of the year. Is there some good to that? For the fear? Of course there is. But again, me, Dan, just a guy that happens to live in the city, it's a bit of a turnoff.
But these are all assumptions. This is like an assumption that it's only going to be seasonal people buying these houses.
Yeah, and a lot of those homes on Union are already owned by horse racing owners, and so they're already dark. But what the HOA would do would essentially set the standards that the homes might be dark, but they wouldn't feel dark, per se. They would have to keep the landscaping up and some lights on, and I think the fear is, let's say you have 7 homes purchased by 7 different owners who every Friday and Saturday night are throwing 7 different parties in one neighborhood, and that would change the feel of the neighborhood, right? And that's what I think is the fears. We don't want these all summer every weekend to have 7 different owner parties for their friends and trainers and whatnot. That would just kind of start to dominate the neighborhood, the parking, the noise. So
I think what you're describing is our Airbnb problem.
Well, that's
right?
The Airbnb problem is an issue too. Yes,
that's what creates the parties constantly and the noise. The pool, by the way, the planning board and the way the city handled the application, the standard they go by is dawn to dusk is like when the pool would be open. So I just am not still understanding this like fear of late night partying from 4 residential houses that haven't been built yet. That it just seems like a lot of leaps to get to like this is going to wreck the neighborhood.
There are indications and this is an obvious statement, but there's very serious money behind this. And the neighbors had a concern, and they asked for something similar to what Ciro's has. Ciro's has a 9 p.m. moratorium. And I watched the video of the planning board shooting this homeowner, a longtime homeowner down. One planning board member saying, move on. He just in my view, he mistreated this neighbor, whether he had a legitimate gripe or not. I just felt they mistreated this person who was just a citizen saying, here's my issue. Could you move it to 9 o'clock and not keep the music going, if there is any music, to 11? That's what I'm asking for at this point. And I just felt they mistreated him.
Well, we have to remember that these people are all volunteers. So, I think being on one of the land use boards is probably one of the most thankless jobs here. They're 7-year terms, and it's also just your neighbor doing it out of the goodness of their heart. Doesn't justify bad behavior, but you also don't know how many times its neighbor or group has been to the planning board, what their complaints are, and at some point, if you just want an arbitrary change to make yourself feel more comfortable about something that hasn't even happened yet, I would be getting a little frustrated too, I think.
Fair enough.
And by the way, trick-or-treating, Caroline Street, you just have to walk one street over. Trick-or-treating galore, candy bonanza. So whoever's worried about Fifth Avenue not being a good candy stop just needs to head one block over.
I think he was going beyond trick-or-treating, but and this is right next to this mysterious gigantic house right behind King's Tavern. I think it backs up to Mitchell Street. That's been there for a number of years. It's a modern house. It's just gigantic, but it's it's only used during track season, and no one seems to even stay overnight there. It just there's some people say, I don't even know if there's bedrooms in there. It just adds to the layer of mystery. This project has a bit of a layer of mystery to it, and intriguing, and I don't know all the components of it.
I still don't get the air of mystery. It's just 4 houses being built. Well, whatever. Dan, I know you and I can go on and on about this. I know. Sorry. All right.
Create some intrigue. No, I'm sorry. I seriously about the mystery. It just seems like there's some layer of mystery over this.
Maybe it's the track effect. Anything super close to the track is,
And you've always seen this, and this is people. Anytime there's any development, there's people against development. This is it's as old as time. People don't like change. They're scared of the unknown, right? They're comfortable in their neighborhood as it is. This is why they moved to their neighborhood. And while so the idea of changing something it throws up a lot of red flags, and that's just human nature. But yeah, for the most part, it's I'm not against this, but I am nervous that. All right, how are we going to make sure that these 7 homes don't become and Robin, to your point about the Airbnb, the thing with Airbnb, it kind of slowly percolates through the city, where this is a concentration of 7 homes in one area, right? So it's a big that's a big switch to be flipped right there.
Aren't all the other homes around it operating the same way that they're big B&Bs? They're Adam, did we just lose you?
We lost Evan.
Adam's done.
Yeah, there's a lot of you were saying, there's a lot of homes that are Airbnb. Yes, there are there. Yep.
I'm just saying, it seems like that almost fits in the character of the neighborhood. They're the houses on Union are huge, multifamily spots, and we haven't had any crazy partying. If we're looking for crazy partying, I think we need to look no further than the track, and then downtown.
Yeah, I guess to wrap up my place on, I'm not against it. I'm just sort of unsettled by it. Don't love it. Don't like it. What am I going to do? I live, 3 miles away. I just feel bad for the neighbors that had concerns, and I don't think the city, even if the city didn't grant them what they were wishing, I just wish this gentleman was treated a little better.
Moving on, let's talk about homeless. From one extreme to the other. Adam, you were at a homeless forum last week, where I think there are all the different agencies locally that work with the homeless population here. Kind of had a roundtable conversation to talk about where we are as a city dealing with our homeless population, which, as we know, is one of our most vulnerable populations, and has been a fairly high-profile issue that has come up, in the last several years with an increase in the homeless population here. How was it, and what's the outlook? Are we making progress? And
right. So I don't think anybody can deny or turn the blind eye to the fact of there's this homeless issue is really percolating through the city, the panhandling, and it kind of creates there was a stabbing in one of the parking garages, unrelated. The person who the perpetrator or was not a homeless individual, is actually a Saratoga or Boston Spa resident, but nonetheless, it's the atmosphere around some of these areas where the homeless congregate it's one that has an air of danger to it. And so the mayor Mayor Kim held a forum with 6 or 7 agencies who are working with the homeless: Rise, Shelters of Saratoga, the Salvation Army, and a number of others. What I didn't like about it is I was kind of hoping to go in there with somebody saying, "All right, guys, listen, this is a problem. It's been getting worse. It hasn't been getting better. These are our steps we're doing next. This is how we're going to start to address this issue." Instead, what you really got with these agencies, who, don't get me wrong, these people are the salt of the earth. They're in this for the right reasons. They're doing great things, but they just kind of went over what they're doing. So it was just kind of business as usual is how we're addressing this. Not, okay, we are going to start with X, Y, and Z and a task force and so it was, hey, business as usual. And there were a lot of neighbors who had concerns with that, with the fact of shop owners who would say, they'll have young kids come to open their shop in the morning, 9, 10 in the morning, and there's a homeless person sleeping in the vestibule, and they'll ask them to move, and they'll get, the problem with the homelessness is that there's a lot of substance abuse and mental issues in that population, which is why, what leads them to be homeless, but that makes them unpredictable sometimes, and especially with the substance abuse, it can make them aggressive, and I think we've all seen it at this point. So I got to say, I was a little upset with the fact that there was no plan to move forward other than status quo.
Well, I do have some news on that front, but one thing I want to clarify just in terms of this conversation is the difference between homelessness and vagrancy, because I think that oftentimes people talk about these two populations as if they're one and the same, and they're really not. We have a vagrant population in Saratoga Springs who certainly are suffering from mental health issues, drug and alcohol addiction, but they're choosing to live a life outside. And they're responsible for, some of the more violent or aggressive behavior you see downtown, versus folks who are looking to actively get back into a home, are, going to get a spot in Shelters of Saratoga, which is transitional housing, and are working towards permanent housing and employment and so forth. And so I just think it's important to clarify the two different populations and not talk about them as if they're one and the same.
Yeah, well, so certainly there are people who just are, down on their luck. They had a string of poor events, and they're fighting to get back on their feet. And those are the people we all envision when we give a guy $1 who's on the corner or really want to help out with the homeless. But you, Robin, you're absolutely right. Where the vagrant population are the ones who, it's almost a business. I was talking to one of the leaders of these groups who was saying, you'll see them set up in front of these stores on Broadway, and the store owner will say, "Why are they in front of my store? Right? Why are they here?" And they would say, "Well, the same reason you're here. This is good business to be set up right here." And that's the fact. The one thing that the city did say, and I thought this was really, is that the solution to the problem is not giving panhandlers money.
Yes.
The city's going to put out boxes. If you feel the need to give a couple bucks, put it in one of these boxes. It'll go to these organizations that are out there on the ground. It's the assisting the homeless and the vagrants to kind of move on and transition into a more productive lifestyle. But that was one big thing of you can't give them money, and then the other on the flip side too, you can't arrest them. There's nothing illegal with asking somebody for money. There's nothing illegal with being on Broadway. So the police were there and they had a presence, and they said the big takeaway was you could always call these organizations, and they're going to start to, what I understood is put together a leaflet or a pamphlet or numbers you can call if you have an issue. So you're not just calling the police. You're calling people who are trained more with mental health and transitional to get these people help. But the police were essentially saying we can't just arrest people for asking you for money. So that's not a solution, and I don't think that is a solution.
No,
but from the two extremes, you don't give them money, you don't arrest them. All right, well, where in the middle is
so
land?
Dan, unless you want to jump in here, I have lots of experience with the homeless population in Saratoga, primarily because Code Blue was like 3 houses down from me for 3 or 4 winters. And when it was announced, I saw it in the news, and I was curious about it. And how many people are going to be there? How does it operate? I just had questions. I lived 3 houses up with my little kids, and I was curious. I instantly was destroyed online, called a NIMBY, just people just jump all over you for asking anything about the homeless that they interpret, to immediately be you're being classist or that. I was I'm just looking for information so I can understand what's happening on my block and feel comfortable with it. I got that information. long story short, I ended up volunteering there quite a bit and really getting to know our homeless population and seeing them through a very different lens and kind of understanding the needs and issues in our city and why we haven't been able to address this population the way they need to be addressed. And it's largely because we don't have a year-round drop-in shelter in Saratoga Springs. So there's no place for an outreach worker to bring someone to get shelter, food, and connect with social services. The only option they have is going all the way down to Boston Spa to the social services in the county. And that's actually a huge hurdle for anyone, certainly somebody who doesn't have a car, plus all the requirements that you have to meet to get the services down at Boston Spa. It's challenging. But to that end, what I think is very exciting, and I think it's pretty known at this point, there has been a donation, I think by the Dakes, to build the senior center at the YMCA on West Avenue, build a new building for the senior center and move the senior center from where it currently exists over to the Y on their property. And then the senior center would become this year-round drop-in shelter that would kind of be like a hub where, again, they would have social services and these agencies would be represented. So while the people were there getting food, shelter, and whatnot, they could also get connected with what they need to get on a path to, being back in a home and in a more stable situation. And I think that's going to. Go ahead.
This is my problem with solutions like that. Is essentially the problem is the homelessness is a spot problem. Vagrancy is a spot problem. So if there is a homeless person in Saratoga, it is now Saratoga's. Saratoga has to help meet the needs of this person or this individual or whatnot. So if you keep on building services, what prevents them from keep coming? It's not. People say, "Oh no, people don't come to Saratoga to be homeless." I don't know that that's true. I think when I grew up here, there were 2 or 3 homeless, and you knew who they were. It seems like the more services we offer, the more the services will fill up. Kind of if you build it, they will come, and that's what makes me a little nervous about all this.
What do we offer now, though? We offer nothing. It's not like we're rolling out the red carpet, and they have my feeling is there are people who actually really need this help, this step to get back on track with their lives and housing insecurity. I would rather help those people and then weed out people who are abusing the system afterwards than not do anything at all.
Yeah, but the weeding out is just putting them back into the community. And that's my problem is that, you weed them out. And when you're saying, what do we offer them now? There were 7 agencies there saying what they offer, right? There's
right.
I know there's, what's that?
Right, but there's agencies, almost everywhere. We don't have anything that's unique, I think, to our community. That would draw someone who's like a vagrant here, except for the fact that people are giving them money on Broadway if they're panhandling, and that's very lucrative, which, to your point, people should not be giving money to panhandlers. If you want to help the homeless, if you want to help this situation, donate to Shelters of Saratoga. There's actually been boxes on Broadway for years now that you could put a cash donation in that goes right to shelters. So yes, certainly panhandling is not to be encouraged. It does not help because. Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I haven't said anything on this yet, and I'm at a different level with the two of you because I sort of see it as I'm walking by the Woodlawn Avenue garage, right? There's a pack of people there usually every day. I just saw a group of people in the other parking garage over by Country Corner Cafe yesterday. And I'm trying not to be this snooty guy that lives in Saratoga and looks down on them. I understand I've had family members that have had issues consistent with some of the homeless and so forth. So I want to I want to feel for them. I want to love them. At the same time, there's such a large pack of them. I had my daughters. I had to walk around. They just lay there and block the sidewalk. It's like it's a bit off-putting at times. So I'm trying to balance that as just some guy working and living in Saratoga, and I'm trying to balance that. And it's tough, and I don't see a solution forthcoming.
Well, I think it's really important to acknowledge that we can be like humanitarians and care about people and want to help people, but also want to protect the safety of our neighborhoods. the Woodlawn crew that you're talking about, I know them, and I know them to be the vagrancy issue that we've had. Even when the county had the building across the street from the Woodlawn parking lot and opened it up as a shelter, like they wouldn't go inside.
Sure.
So they were like really actively choosing to not go in. But also there's a group of people in Saratoga who, are constantly driving by, giving them gift cards, buying them beer, catering dinner for them. So like we do have a population here that also really facilitates this existence. And they feel that they're helping, but really it's just reinforcing unhealthy, dangerous, bad behavior for the individuals and for the community versus.
It's crystal clear they want to be there. And sometimes it's social hour. They don't seem despondent. They seem to be enjoying the banter and so forth. Sometimes they're there. That's their social network, is what it appears to me. They don't look like they were wishing they were somewhere else.
What bothers me though is when people, go on Facebook, put a picture up of, the group of people at Woodlawn, and they're like, "Shame on you, Saratoga, such a wealthy, privileged community," and you're like ignoring your homeless population. Like, look at these people, in the garage, as if we have done nothing as a community to try to address this issue. When in reality, the millions and millions of dollars that have been fundraised, the countless task force, the community involvement, participation, it's really extraordinary how much people are passionate and care about the homeless and want to make sure that this vulnerable population is being taken care of. So that's what really gets me.
Yeah.
Should we close this and go to our next issue? Or I think we have Carly waiting. Is that correct?
Let's do it. We'll be back to the homeless because this is a big issue, and I think we'd like to get some guests upon this. So if you're a subject matter expert, let us know. We'd love to have you on because this is an issue that Saratoga is facing right now. And then, unfortunately, there's not a simple solution. 98% of people are good people. They want to help. It's just how do we get there? How do we, help them with preserving the safety and of our community? So, all right, moving on. There's some interesting political news.
Oh, there is. And we're waiting for Carly, Dan. I don't see her yet, but
okay. So I will check my text. I did see a text.
Yeah, will you check her text? Okay. Sorry, Carly Connors from the Auto Museum is coming on to tell us about a few things going on there. But in the meantime, there was some political news that I thought was pretty interesting. We'd mentioned this on the podcast, I think 2 weeks ago. Jim Tedisco and Daphne Jordan were in the same district, basically looking at a primary, two Republicans primarying each other because of the redistricting. And Daphne Jordan announced this week that she was dropping out of the race, which was surprising to me.
Yes, it was described to me that, Tedisco is generally a better fundraiser, more well known. He's been in office for decades, both the Assembly and the Senate. I don't know what went into her thinking. She left while continuing to blast him. She had bitter words for him on her way out the door, and she stopped campaigning, but she's still on the ballot, so there will still be technically a primary. I believe it was way too late to get her off, but she stopped campaigning, so it seems like she's essentially ceding the race to Jim Tedisco. So there's going to be a big general election race, and I'm sure it'll be nasty because you can just feel it. You have Michelle Osterlich on one side, who has a very strong campaign going. Jim Tedisco, who really wants to stay in office. Obviously, he's going to have to move to get this office. So if he's willing to do that, so this will be one of the key Senate races in the entire state, I believe.
I agree. I was shocked that Daphne dropped out simply because after she was not endorsed, she came out with some real fighting words. Like, she was not giving up. She was going full speed ahead, and she really came out very aggressively committed to continuing to run and challenge Jim Tedisco. So I was shocked that she dropped out, but the less nastiness, the better, in my opinion.
You've seen how big party politics work. You think this is all the Republican Party got to her? Because this is not good to have two Republicans at each other's neck if you're the Republican Party. Somebody in the party got to her and said, "Listen, it is what it is. If you want to stay here, let's let him, Mr. Tedisco, focus on the general election and take a bow out of this." Or do you think it was for more personal reasons, if you had to guess?
No, Adam, you totally hit the nail on the head. It is so unusual for Republicans to allow a primary to happen. Like, it's just not how they roll. The Democrats have that problem. They let too many people get into a primary and it affects the outcome of the race. This is so unlike the Republicans, to have this kind of a conflict within the party and have it be so public. So if I had to guess, I would guess that it was the party stepping in and saying, listen, we have to do, what's best for the party and what's best for securing this seat, and for, X, Y, and Z reasons, we need you to bow out. And I'm sure they had some other opportunity that they presented her with. So I think you hit the nail on the head.
Excellent.
All right, well, there we go. We'll make an interesting general election.
It will make it interesting. Jim Tedisco, he's so funny. I sat with him at the county fair back in 2019, which is a whole situation in and of itself. And the thing he's had forever that he gives out for his campaign, and he's always won, he gives out nail files with like his logo on them. And it just like cracked me up. Like he's like, everyone loves them. And he has them every election cycle to give out to everybody. Although this year, I think he may need to do more than the nail file. It seems like you might have to step it up.
It's gonna be a competitive, harshly fought campaign. Like I said, I think the whole state's going to be watching that district because it's radically it in the geography. It currently goes into Columbia County. It doesn't even go anywhere near there now. It's got all of Saratoga County and Niskayuna and Schenectady, and that's significant changes.
Here, change of pace, but I think I see Miss Carly Connors. Carly, do we have you?
Hello there. How's everyone doing?
We're doing well. Thank you for joining us out. Carly's in California at the moment, I might add. So thank you for joining us from the West Coast.
West Coast, yes. How is everybody?
Great, Carly. Great. Folks, Carly Connors, Executive Director of the Saratoga Automobile Museum. Carly, your June is insane. I don't know how you keep. I hope you're taking your vitamins and eating your Wheaties, because I'm looking at your schedule, and it is just packed with really neat stuff. Great stuff for the museum. Great stuff for the community. Good for you, but oh my God, how do you keep it up?
I don't know. And the time change when we're flying out tonight. We're taking the red eye. It's gonna be interesting on Saturday.
So let's talk about Saturday. You got Cars on Union, which just when I saw those three words, obviously you and I have a connection to Union Avenue. That was thrilling. And then when I find out what's happening, but I don't know everything. Will you tell everybody exactly what Cars on Union is? I know it goes from like 9 to 3 on Saturday, and what great weather. I think we got great weather coming.
Yes. Well, thanks, Dan. And I want to go back to your last story, Dan. I think you're concerned about the houses on Union because of all the crazy partying you did back in the day on Union. I think that's where it's stemming from.
That's when I was younger.
Yep. I do remember those days fondly. So, yep, he's worried about what's going to happen there. But Union, we're thrilled. 4 or 5 years ago, I was down in Naples, Florida, for an event called Cars on Fifth, and it was probably one of the most amazing events I've ever been to. They shut down the whole street. They have about 400 cars, everything from Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches, every sort of exotic. And I came back and met with Daryl from Discover Saratoga and said, we have to do this event. It's amazing. And so a couple of years later, after a pandemic, here we are. And I can't thank Discover Saratoga, the chamber, the city enough for making this happen for us and for the city of Saratoga. So what we're doing is we are shutting down Union Ave from Nelson East Ave, and it's basically going to be a car show downtown for exotic cars. So if you have a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, a Porsche, a supercar, anything, bring it on down, and you can show off your car. You can register on our website at SaratogaAutomobileMuseum.org. We are going to have judging, so we'll have the People's Choice, Judge's Choice, Best in Show, raffle prizes, food trucks. Another great thing, the Children's Museum is going to be there. The National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame, they're having a day, so admission is going to be free. So it's just going to be a fabulous event for the community.
And that's this Saturday?
It is this Saturday. Yep.
That's so cool, because my first dumb question was going to be, where do the cars come from? I didn't realize it's people around here coming with their own vehicles.
Yeah.
That is very cool. That is very cool. I wish I had a cool vehicle.
And Carol, you mentioned, I think they have till tomorrow to get on your website to register for it. And,
Yes. Yep.
They can,
Friday
you
night.
already have-
Cut it off Friday night. So get on our website, register. You can either do it online or call us at the museum and register to get the car in the show.
and you
Adam, can I
touched on
borrow
it.
your car?
Oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Adam, we need you in there.
Adam's got a very fancy convertible that I gave him a lot of shit for during the campaign season. So I was like, Adam Israel, you cannot be campaigning for local office driving around in this car. This is not a good look for a campaign.
Well, Adam, didn't you get it at the auction too?
Yes, I bought a Ferrari 360 Spider at the Saratoga auction maybe 4 years ago. I love it. It's a beautiful car. Kids love it. So maybe we'll see you Saturday. I have to get in on this fun.
Definitely.
And vote for me if you see me.
Okay. Hey, Carly, I have to ask you, because you touched on it. It's not just cars. You got vendors, you got street food trucks. It's obviously kid friendly with what the racing museum is doing. This is a family friendly, kid friendly. I believe it's free other than maybe the parking. Is that correct?
Right. Another great thing, we've partnered with Naira, has been fabulous. We're just so lucky, I think, in Saratoga. Everybody just wants to see events work and get people back. It's safe. It's outside. So we've partnered with Naira. They're going to open up their parking lot for us for a small fee. We've partnered with Death Wish Coffee. They're going to be there with their big truck. Haggerty, which is a big insurance company for cars, they're going to be there. The Porsche of Clifton Park, Worldwide Ferrari. We have ice cream. We have food trucks. So yes, Dan, it's for everyone. Bring the girls. Robin, I have a feeling that our kids will be there. So it's going to be a great event for everyone.
They probably already have cars registered.
They probably do.
Wait, Carly, I have to
Carly,
give you
is
so
your
many
background?
props.
Go ahead, Robin.
Oh, I just have to give Carly props for this because just getting a food truck for like any event in the city of Saratoga Springs where food trucks are not permitted is like a huge lift. So the fact that you have all these different elements all coordinated for this like first of its kind event it's amazing. I'm just so impressed.
Thank you. We are lucky. All of our partners have been really helpful in making this a reality. That I think the city is hoping that this will be a yearly traditional, similar to Chowder Fest or the 4th of July run. So we're really excited.
If I have a fancy bike, does that count? Could I
definitely,
come
Robin?
Like, nice shiny
Get
bike?
that in. Yes.
Carly, do you have a background in cars, or is this just or museums, or what motivated you to go after this position? And you're doing a great job, and we love it. But what's on a personal level? What's the deal?
What's the deal? I've always loved cars. I've been, whether it's driving or owning, I've loved them. And I think at the time, 4 or 5 years ago, they were looking to diversify the board of the museum a little. So I had a friend who asked me to join the board. And then at the time we were looking for an executive director. And I said, well, I'm doing some consulting. I'll help out. And 5 years later, here we are. And I'm still there and loving it. I never feel like I'm going to work. It's always a fun day, always something different, whether it's volunteers, cars. It's just, I'm really lucky.
You must know a lot of the fancy car owners in Saratoga, and maybe you can answer this, maybe you can't. But is there one car you're looking forward to seeing on Saturday? Is there
that's
like a jewel out there?
That's a great question. There is a fun car. I don't know if he's bringing it, but there's something called a spiker. There are not many of them, and I hope that comes.
All right,
we'll
look for
great.
the spiker.
I would like to know what everyone's like a fantasy car would be to see on Saturday. Like Adam, what's your dream vehicle that you would spot or be driving?
Ferrari 360 Spider, maybe.
I mean, like, I know. I suppose.
Blue on blue.
I've never seen the actual. This doesn't quite match up to Ferraris and so forth, but if it's one car, the DeLorean from Back to the Future. Has that ever been here? Does that still exist?
When City Hall got struck by lightning, I think it did a drive-by that night.
Dan, that's so funny you say that. It does exist. I will send you a picture because I saw it yesterday. I'm out in California to visit. There's a very well-known museum out here called the Peterson, and they have it. And so I just took a picture of it yesterday.
And you cut a deal to have it visit Saratoga Springs, right?
I'm working on it, Dan. I'm working on it.
With
Hey,
hoverboard, real hoverboard.
if I could go down a list, because they have so much going on this month, Carly, if you could talk a little bit about each of the things. You got a big 20th anniversary gala coming up.
We do. We June 1st, we turned 20 years old. So we've been around for a while. So on Saturday, June 25th, we are doing a gala to celebrate the 20 individuals that have really made a difference at the museum. So we'll be celebrating those people on June 25th. So that's a really big one for us.
Wow, that's great. And there's still availability if people wanted to.
Definitely. Yep. Once again, just you can go right to our website.
Okay, great. Commission a brick. I saw that was new. I think that's sort of obvious, but can you explain that?
Definitely. So right outside the museum, we have some grass area with some bricks. So if you want to become a legacy and put your name down for the next 20 years, you can buy a brick and put whatever you want on that brick. Maybe vote for Adam. We could get a brick.
It's a little too late for that. Oh, right, for the car.
Yeah,
Even though he has a fancy car.
The fun we could have with those. And listen, I understand you have a new benefit for the museum to win a Ford Bronco, and not just any Ford Bronco.
A Bronco?
I understand this is tricked out.
It is a little tricked out. So we were lucky. We went to the New York International Auto Show this year with the Bronco, and the Bronco is the new car.
Like
Everything
the
wants
vintage Broncos?
What?
Like the vintage Broncos? That's like my
No. We're not talking about the white Bronco that everybody is so fond of. This is a brand new 2022 Bronco.
And
Yes, you can get a ticket to win. We'll be pulling that ticket in February, and you need to be in it to win it. So last year we gave away a Porsche, and the man who won that lived right in Saratoga. We've given away a Maserati. We've given away a Mercedes. So, Robin, you need to win the Bronco.
Where have I been? Where have I been for these giveaways?
and Carly, I've spoken to two of those winners, and what's neat about it is they just happen to be, at least one of them happened to be at the museum because his golf date got rained out.
Yes.
And he did it just to support, bought a few tickets, not many. I love those kind of stories, and that's just great.
It is great.
I'd freak out with like a free Diet Coke. I mean, that's unbelievable. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is such a cool thing because when I hear an auto museum, I'm not a huge car person. I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, is that someplace I would take kids? Probably not. It's like nothing comes to mind. What you've done with the museum and the experience of just going to just visit. I mean, the space is beautiful. My kids were like blown away by it. They're all going to love this event on Saturday. Like the way you've engaged the community with the museum and just like made it this like incredible living, breathing place. It's just awesome. And it's just another layer of like
Robin.
why the city is so great. No, honestly, it's
really
so impressive.
Yes, absolutely. Well,
It's a
Carly,
great place. And I'm out in California visiting some museums, looking for some next exhibits and some best practices. So I think you're going to be really happy with our next couple exhibits coming up. So stay tuned.
Well, can you talk to Elon while you're out there? Because I impulsively put a security deposit down on a Cybertruck, but I've been waiting and waiting. It hasn't shown up yet.
Well, I'll work on that for you, Robin. I fly out tonight, but I've got a little time. I'll call him, see if he's...
Call him up.
Carly, thank you
so
for coming
much.
on.
Thank you. I'll see you all on Saturday.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Carly. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Safe flight, safe travels.
Thanks, Dan.
Bye. All right, kids. I think it's time to wrap up with some cheers and jeers. What do you think?
I
Do
do
it.
as well. You want me to kick off?
Yeah, kick
Go
off.
for it, Dan.
Okay, because it segues right off of Carly. I have a big cheer for Saturday in Saratoga Springs. Folks, there is so much going on. Just Saturday, there's obviously the cars on Union, and Carly mentioned it. The Racing Museum and Hall of Fame also has their Celebrate Equine Sanctuary, and it's right there on Union. Everything's free other than the parking. They're teaming up with Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga, the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation, that they're celebrating all the aftercare of the horses. And I maybe they've done that in the past, but I don't know if they've done something like this. That's a kid-friendly, family-friendly event. The Mostly Modern Music Festival, that's going right through the 24th. That is where they're celebrating the living composers, and they have the living composer. They have something going every day right through the 24th. Tonight at 7:30, they have a nice brass event at the Arthur's Ankle Music Center. Mostly Modern Music Festival.org or Mostly Modern Festival.org. I'm sorry about that. These things are fun. They're exciting. They're educational.
Is there anything that's not family friendly? Because sometimes I don't want to be around kids.
Yeah, Gaffneys.
Is there any
Gaffneys, yeah.
I'm just
you teed it up beautifully for me. My jeer is to me because I'm giving short shrift to so many other great events that are happening Saturday and this weekend, and I don't have them here for you. So there are other events between the Chamber's website and other websites. You can find some of these out. So please, but boy, Cars on Union, the Race Museum celebrating Equine Sanctuary, the Mostly Modern, and an electric car show, an e-bike show up at Skidmore on Saturday as well. For if that floats your boat, just so much going on in Saratoga. I'm a homer. I love Saratoga. Yeah, there's problems here, but I absolutely love Saratoga, and nobody's going to tell me it's not a great city. Thank you. I'm out.
All right.
I'm right there with you, Adam. You're up.
All right, so I guess my cheers will go to the Lake Avenue School family, the teachers, the administrators. We're wrapping up this week here now, but it's been a great week camping with the kids, and it's just something special that Lake Ave did, that the teachers really, showed initiative, and the administrators showed initiative to do it and to make it work. And I think it's really special for these fifth graders moving on. So Lake Ave and Saratoga City School District, congratulations. This is awesome. My cheers this is a weird one, but to Niagara Mohawk, or National Grid, whatever they are now, they've done this in front of my house, and now they've done it in front of my mom's house, where there's an old pole that's leaning and falling down, and they just come up, put in a new pole, and never remove the old pole. And we have this old pole. Yeah, it's crazy, and it's at like I don't know, it looks like this on Spring Street, and we call them, and they say, oh, it's it's Verizon, or they just kick the bucket around, and meanwhile we have this pole that's about to come crashing down. It's an eyesore. And my mother's house in Circular Street did the same thing. Put in a new pole, left the old pole there. It's just kind of crazy to me, and they're just such a monopoly that they're not motivated to do anything about it. So Niagara Mohawk, please come to Spring Street. It ain't hard to find. Start there and get that pole out of the ground.
I've had a similar issue with National Grid. You should tweet it out. Keep hammering them.
Yeah.
Do you have a chainsaw that maybe might solve the problem?
That's right.
Well, my quick cheer and cheer. There's this event this week, another event this weekend that is so cool, that was sent over to me that I just is worth mentioning. It's Hasbro's Marvel series director and toy photographer are coming for a Toys in Action workshop. And it's kicking off in Schuylerville on Friday night, but then it's going to be in the city center during the weekend. But it's like the original Hasbro toy creators. And it just sounds really, really, really cool and different. Kid friendly, but that's a good thing in this case.
Repeat that once again. What it is? The title of it? Or the...
It is. It features Hasbro's Marvel series director Steve Evans and toy photographer Jared Middleton. It's a Toys in Action workshop. It's a community event. Opportunity to learn about toy design and photography. From people who basically did all the Marvel and all the kind of classic big toy merch. Why am I at a loss for words here? You know what I'm talking about. So you get to be big, like Tom Hanks. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm sure I have a cheer, but
You always have a cheer. Come on.
I know. Can I just do two cheers, you guys? This is the lamest cheer ever, but I got this microphone from Target, and it's made me feel super professional today doing this podcast with this official. I know, guys, $20. This could be yours from Target. Super serious podcasters now.
That is on my list. Father's Day. Margarita, are you watching?
All right, everybody. Hey, I got to go hit the latrine.
Sunday.
Oh, right? All right. Thank you. I just said it. So, yeah, that's my cheer. Fathers. Yay. Father's Day.
Yes. How do we not cheer the fathers? Right. Adam, thanks. Robin, thanks. Folks, thanks for watching. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.